Hello everyone, I am Dhruv and you are watching Learn with Dhruv. Welcome back to another lesson in our IELTS speaking series. We will begin with part 1, then discuss part 2 or the cue card, and finally move on to the follow-up questions in part 3. The video is divided into chapters, so feel free to move along the timeline to jump to any section. The first question, do you like rainy weather? To be honest, it really depends on my schedule. If I'm comfortably at home, I find light rain quite calming and even a bit soul soothing. But if I have to commute, the charm disappears quickly because of traffic and waterlogged roads. How do you usually feel when it rains? Rain often puts me in a reflective mood. The sound of rain hitting the windows make me slow down and relax, and sometimes I enjoy reading or listening to music. That said, if it rains continuously for several days, it can feel a little gloomy. Does it rain often where you live? Not really. I live in an area with a fairly dry or semi arid climate, so rainfall is uncommon. When it does rain heavily, people usually welcome it because it brings much needed relief to the dry surroundings. What do people usually do on rainy days in your area? Since rain is quite rare, most people prefer staying indoors when it happens. Many visit small cafes, while others enjoy staying home and having a relaxed day watching movies or enjoying hot food. It's often treated as a perfect excuse to slow down. Do you think rain affects people's mood? Yes, weather definitely has a noticeable impact on people's mood and energy levels. While some people find rain peaceful, others feel low or tired, especially when there's very little sunlight for a long time. Our topic of cue card is describe a book you have read more than once. You should say what the book is, when you first read it, why you decided to read it again, and explain why this book is worth reading more than once. The book I would like to talk about is 1984 by George Orwell, which is widely regarded as a landmark work of dystopian fiction. I first encountered this novel during my high school years, a time when my reading habits and worldview were still taking shape. Back then, I was mainly captivated by the gripping storyline, which follows an ordinary man attempting to survive under an extremely authoritarian system. During my first reading, I focused primarily on the surface level narrative. The constant surveillance, fear, and the lack of freedom felt intense and unsettling, and I remember being emotionally affected by how powerless the characters seemed. At that age, I interpreted the book mainly as a warning about extreme political control rather than a broader commentary on human psychology and language. As I grew older, my reasons for rereading the book changed significantly. I recently revisited it after noticing striking parallels between Orwell's imagined world and today's digital reality. Concepts such as constant monitoring, data tracking, and the manipulation of information made the novel feel far less fictional and far more relevant to modern society. During my later readings, I paid closer attention to Orwell's ideas about language, especially concepts like newspeak and doublethink. These ideas made me realize how language can subtly shape thought and limit independent reasoning. The book helped me understand that controlling vocabulary can ultimately control perception, which I found both fascinating and deeply unsettling. Another reason this book is worth rereading is the psychological complexity of the main character. With each reading, I noticed a gradual mental and emotional deterioration that I had previously overlooked. Orwell portrays this decline in a very realistic way, showing how prolonged fear and isolation can erode a person's identity. What truly makes 1984 worth rereading is its layered meaning. Orwell didn't write a book that can be fully understood in a single reading. Each revisit reveals new symbols, themes, and warnings depending on the reader's age, experiences, and the level of awareness. This evolving interpretation is what keeps drawing me back to the book. In conclusion, 1984 remains a timeless novel because it forces readers to question truth, authority, and freedom. Unlike many modern books that lose their appeal once the ending is known, this novel continues to challenge my thinking each time I read it. I strongly believe that as I grow older, my interpretation will keep changing, making this book a lifelong companion rather than a one time read. Let's take a look at some of the follow up questions. The first question, what role do books play in modern society? Books play a crucial role in preserving knowledge and ideas. Beyond entertainment, they allow people to explore complex topics in depth, which short online content often cannot provide. They also help develop empathy by exposing readers to different cultures and perspectives. Do you think people read less nowadays than in the past? In some respects, yes. While fewer people engage in long form reading, we now consume more written content through digital platforms than ever before. However, this shift has reduced deep reading and encouraged surface level engagement. Next question: how do books compare with other forms of art, such as films or music? Books require more active involvement from the audience. Unlike films, which provide fixed visuals, books rely on the reader's imagination to construct scenes and characters. This makes reading a more personal and mentally engaging experience. Which has a greater influence on society, books or other types of art? Other forms of art may influence people more quickly, especially through mass media. However, books often have a deeper and longer lasting impact because many powerful ideas and movements begin in written form. In this way, books shape the foundation of social change. Next question: how has technology changed the way people access books? Technology has made books far more accessible than before. Ebooks and online libraries allow instant access, while audiobooks help people read despite busy schedules or physical limitations. As a result, reading has become more flexible and inclusive. Do you think traditional books will disappear in the future? I think that's very unlikely. Although digital books are convenient, they cannot replace the physical experience of holding a book and turning its pages. Traditional books will probably remain valuable as personal and sentimental items. A small tip to score good bands in your IELTS speaking exam is that you should communicate your ideas clearly and naturally, not perfectly or academically. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon to stay updated. And do share it with your study groups on WhatsApp, Facebook, or any other platform where it might help someone.